Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2.
Yeah.
My name is Michael II, and with me, as always, via Zoom today
is Matthew. Feminists are taking away our comic book and superhero characters, and they're trying to emasculate us, and that proves how much of a masculine male I am, that I'm complaining about cartoons and comic book characters, because that's what traditional masculine men do, is that they cry over toys and comic books. What? Haas.
Is that French?
No, it's German.
Oh, okay.
That was all one word, by the way.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Yeah.
Yes.
German words kind of go on for a while.
Yes, they do. I guess I've heard that before. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Ich heiße Michael. Anyways, so today on the show, as kind of alluded to in Matt's name, we are covering the new Netflix television series, the animated series Masters of the Universe Revelation, created and showrun by Kevin Smith, written by a lot of great writers. It's a continuation of the 80s Filmation show, but done in a more adult way. We're gonna talk here about our feelings of the show, plus the very strange, in my opinion, toxic fandom reaction to this show, which just continues the whole idea of toxic fandom, which I think is what's basically destroying genre, television and movies and video games and everything. It's just like comic books, whatever have you. It's like people just can't be happy, or just go on with their lives and not like something, but they feel the need to condemn and basically threaten the lives of people that are involved in these things. Yep. Which I do not get. For example, I do not like The Big Bang Theory. Have I gone online and threatened Chuck Lorre's life? No.
I don't know. That's what I know of.
No. There is that one day that no, I'm joking. No, I haven't. It's just so frustrating to see the hate that people have for these things that they think it's like, oh no, it ruined my childhood. No, it didn't. You're an adult. You already lived your fucking childhood.
Exactly. See, that's what I don't understand about that phrase. It's like you've already experienced your childhood, so how could something that already happened get ruined? It makes no logical sense in the time-space continuum theory that we live in.
Nobody's taken away your love of He-Man or Star Wars or what have you when you were a 8-year-old child or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Now that you're now that you're in your late 30s or 40s or whatever, and you think that, oh, it ruined everything. No,
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that later on. About
Yeah,
all, I mean, because a lot of this, I mean, just as a quick thing, really, a
yeah,
lot of this is political, and it might not seem like it because we're talking about toys and comic, but there's a there's a I mean, you know this. There's a huge segment of our population that's extremely reactionary to anything that comes with, when it comes to change, revolution, or progress. And
mm-hmm.
this is just one example of it. I mean, there's all kinds of subsets of society. That's a hard subset of society that engage in this kind of like, and you could just tell by the way these people talk. You could hear the fear in their voice. Really hear the fear. God, okay, whatever. You could see the fear in their faces. You can hear it in their words. Like these people are terrified. I mean, like you almost feel a little bit empathy for them, but then not really, because once they start talking, they just make you so angry because they're so full of shit. But like these people, they probably live every moment of their life in just utter terror that like they're going to be replaced for some reason, and they're just like, it's almost like watching a person with a blindfold on just running around bumping in the trees and still, because they don't know what, I mean, like they like, and they, anything is a potential threat to them, I mean, in their minds at least. So that's like, like I have people that I've grown up with who who are like this, where it's quite sad, that they can't enjoy anything because it's like it's the feminist agenda, it's the gay agenda, it's the black agenda, and it's like, dude, like your life must be so miserable. I mean, like I almost feel sorry for you. Like you can't just enjoy anything because everything's a conspiracy against you. I mean, like, man, like that must be a hard life. Like,
It is. Now back to Masters here for a second, or for a little bit here. What was your initial reaction to it, watching it?
Since I'm, a cuck liberal or whatever that, phrase they'll say, I actually enjoyed it because, in the words of the great Abed Nadir from Community, I think I just like liking things.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. I just like liking things, which I know makes me a terrible, evil liberal person who, is terrible and wants to destroy Western civilization because I enjoy stuff. I know it's bad in this day and age to be happy. I know, I get it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. For me personally, maybe I am kind of a weird audience because I really wasn't a fan of He-Man back in the day. That was more my brother's thing because he was older than me, and that was kind of his. So I was like probably 5 years too early to really get in, to watch that kind of thing. And
yeah, I mean, it was kind of more. I mean, because I'm a little older than you, so it was more me and your brother, me and your brother's like age range.
Yeah, you're pretty much like, I think you're just like 1 year older than my brother. Or
yeah,
like that.
So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when I was a kid, it was all about Star Wars, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Thundercats. That was the loves of my life. So.
So I liked it, but I don't. I have a kind of a biased opinion because I don't have that. Like here's the thing. Okay, so like I do think, excuse me, I do think that there is if someone has a genuine, again, keyword, a genuine gripe with a show or a book or whatever, okay, that's fine. And like, so I don't have. To me, so I didn't come in with any expectations. What I'm trying to say, I wasn't a huge fan of He-Man, Skeletor, didn't really care. So like, what I was watching on the screen wasn't like a huge shock. Like, oh, I can't believe they did that. That like, it totally wasn't. So I was coming at it from just like, oh, okay, here's this cool new show. It's supposed to be kind of a sequel to Masters of the Universe. That should be interesting. So. I didn't have that reaction of like what like some people who are, fans of the original who may have been somewhat disappointed. And again, I think it's okay to be genuinely disappointed about something without turning it into like a men's rights issue and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, there are plenty of movies, TV shows, books, video games, whatever that people dislike, but they don't go online and create a YouTube channel just to, downgrade the whole thing like certain people do. I personally, I mean, if you want to, Matt, you can, but I'm not going to name any of these people because I don't want to give them any spotlight. I watched a lot of these videos and I don't want to put anybody else through that torture.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, if you want to go seek them out yourself, you can. I'm sure that they come up. I mean, if you're a fan of this stuff, they're going to come up in your algorithm on YouTube or whatever.
Oh,
because I mean, that's like all I'm getting as suggestions on YouTube, just because I watched one of these videos, and also because I'm a fan of Kevin Smith, so his name is in the title of a bunch of these things, so the algorithm is giving me any video that's associated with Kevin Smith. So good or bad. Yeah. But
good or bad, yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah, I watched a few, not a lot, but I did watch a few, and you're right. I mean, like, that's the other. I mean, sorry. I'll save the political commentary for later because I can keep going into.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a little bit because I've got some stuff here to say that that is why I think this is dangerous. Okay, so I'm not gonna like break down every episode. I think we should just kind of break down the whole story because it's kind of like one big movie. Maybe not even break it down, but just basically give our reaction to it. Because okay, first off, I think the my thoughts on this as a review, because I want to get more into the toxic thing after this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time reviewing the show. I mean, I know this is a review episode and this is what we normally do, but that's just me personally. I think the animation in the show that was done by Powerhouse Animation was just beautiful. It's some of the best animation I've seen on a 2D animated show ever, So, and see, that's the other thing too, talking about 2D and stuff. Okay, so these people that are pissed off and think, oh, He-Man's ruined forever. There's another show that Netflix is releasing very soon that's produced by other people. That is another continuity of He-Man that has nothing to do with this show. That is a CGI 3D animated show, which is more about He-Man and kind of like a reboot of the series altogether, as opposed to a continuation, which this is kind of a continuation of the 1980s Filmation show that people grew up on. So if you're not happy with this, just it's like I was listening to a episode of Fat Man Beyond, which is Kevin Smith's podcast, one of his podcasts, where they were talking about this stuff, and Griffin Newman, who voices Orko, was on there, and he says, yeah, it's like He-Man is like a bus, just wait a couple minutes and there'll be another one coming along. So it's just like you don't, it's never really left the zeitgeist. You've had other versions of the show, you had the movie back in the 80s too. It's just there's if you don't like this He-Man, go back and watch your original. Nobody came. I know I'm going off again. Nobody came into your house and burned your DVDs of the Filmation version.
Right, but Mike, if you made a positive video about something you like on YouTube, you're only going to get like 2,000 views max.
I know.
But if you talk about something that you hate, you're going to get at least 100,000.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to find the version of He-Man that you hate. Yeah. And then make a whole commentary about that because that's your bread and butter.
And I know this is kind of funny coming from us because we watch bad movies and talk about them and TV shows and stuff. But
yes,
but we do it in a loving.
We don't make it political.
We do it in a loving way, and we never come off and say. I mean, mind you, we did have a running gag, and we do sometimes about Larry the Cable Guy. I've never threatened his life, though. And I've never come out and, like, personally attacked him. I've attacked his art. You know what I mean? I don't know about his personal views on life and everything. I mean, I just know his stand-up, you know, and his acting. I've attacked that. And so, I mean, I guess I am kind of guilty of this shit, you know, but it's not like, I don't think that's really toxic in a way, you know what I mean? It's more in a tongue-in-cheek kind of funny way that we do things.
Yeah, I mean,
if people disagree with that, let us know. I don't care, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, I've said things in the past that I regret. I said, you know, but you know, I am who I am, and I'm not going to take back what I said, you know. I mean, if it hurts somebody, yes, I will, you know, apologize and stuff, but I can't change the past. Much like a cartoon can't change the past. And can't destroy your childhood. So basically, okay, the premise of the show starts out in a way like the old Filmation series, where we have an instance where Teela is becoming the new Man-at-Arms, like, which is she's being knighted as that. We have a situation where Skeletor is invading Castle Grayskull under disguise. I mean, I'm going through this really fast here, but basically, this is how we start things. It ends up where underneath Castle Grayskull there is this, like, area of, like, magic, I guess you should say, that people have wanted to get to, and Skeletor, that's basically the main reason that he's been wanting to get control of Castle Grayskull for all these years. What basically, I mean, what did you get from this? Like, what's happening here, Matt?
So yeah, he said something along the lines of, you know, what's beneath the castle is really where the power lies, not so much like the trappings of power or whatever. And yeah, there's like this magic. Was it like some kind of magical orb or something? I forgot what it is.
Yeah.
He's trying to basically get to the source of the magic, where, you know, where it comes from, like Eternia or Eternia, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's like the source of all the magic in Eternia and in the universe.
So yeah, he's kind of changed his goals a little bit, like, because from the past he's kind of thinking somewhat small until he realized, you know, what he's really after is just pretty much just all magic, basically. And he Adam, who's you know, becomes He-Man when he takes the sword. He's actually at the ceremony for Teela, but then he gets a calling that from I forgot what's her name. She's like the guardian of the
sorceress.
Yeah, she calls out to him, so he has to ditch the ceremony and to go fight as He-Man, and nobody knows that he's He-Man except for a few people, and so they just think he just ditched it or something like that. And then they call out and say, oh, you know, Castle Grayskull is under attack. It needs defending. So they cut the ceremony short, just make it real fast. And then Teela joins the fight. And she doesn't know that Adam is He-Man either. And again, since I didn't really watch this as a kid or not, I don't really know the lore too much or whatever, but yeah. I did find this one scene interesting that why had they never thought of this before? Or okay, so like when he takes the sword, right, and he says by the power of Grayskull, then he becomes He-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at one point they're like, why don't you just say the same thing as He-Man? And I'm like, has he never thought of that ever? Like, I mean, it seems like a very obvious thing to think of. Like,
I don't remember in the original series if that was ever brought up? Probably not, because it was not like a,
like,
because basically, but what this is with this is like I think it might have been something that he was afraid to do because of the fact that he didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, it's hard to say. But yeah, it's so basically when he does that, the power sword, the sword of power, it gets cut into two and he dies. So does Skeletor, seemingly. So in the first episode of the show, we've killed off our two main characters. Which I can understand is why people got pissed or whatever. Oh, you killed off the men. Now it's the Teela show.
Exactly.
But the thing is, it's not. The original series was called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This show is called Masters of the Universe Revelation. It's not called He-Man.
Exactly. And plus, too, okay, so they know the season's going to be 10 episodes long. So they know, well, I would think they know, but maybe some of them are just not that bright. But, like, I think some of them know that they're full of shit and they just do it for views. But some of them might be that stupid that they just don't know.
Yeah.
That, like, yes, they're going to bring them back. Like, come on. Like, they're not going to have a 10-episode season where everybody knows these two main characters. But they're just like, oh, that's it for them. Come on. Like even from okay, my point is, nobody has, even if their arguments are right, which they're not, but let's just say for argument's sake that there was a feminist agenda or whatever. Guess what? There's also a capitalist agenda, and capitalism always trumps any other agenda there is. So they're not going to like lose all this money just to promote the Teela show. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is people are going to buy. I mean, they made plenty of Skeletor and He-Man toys for this show. I work at a retail store that sells these, and we have tons of these. I mean, I'm thinking of buying some because they're cool. But yeah. But they have plenty of toys for all of the Masters of the Universe characters, not just Teela, not just her friend Adra. Or, what's her name?
It's oh shoot, Adron?
Adra or something, I think. Yeah. But anyways, it's not just those. They don't just have those two. They've got toys for everything.
No. They just got the
and there's also another series too if you really want. There's the He-Man Origins or whatever, Masters of the Universe Origins line of toys that are inspired by the original toys that they had in the 80s.
No. See,
you can buy those.
I don't want just my stuff. I don't want the other stuff to exist alongside it. See, that's the real argument right here, okay?
Yeah.
That is a real argument, actually. I'm joking, but that literally is the argument.
Oh, so I know it is.
They can have their own part of the sandbox. They just don't want anyone else to have part of their sandbox, is what it is. They want the whole sandbox. That's what it is. They can dance around that all they want and try to say, oh, no, it's because... No, that's not it. It's... They don't want anyone encroaching upon their little castle, pun intended. They got to guard it with their toys and their comic books.
And their He-Man toys that they buried in their backyard and don't know where they are anymore.
Exactly.
Oh wait, that was just me. Anyway, so
no, I think my brother did that too. So I actually know a lot of people growing up that used to bury toys.
Yeah. See, I used to do this thing where I would have these big battles. I didn't care what toys I used. It doesn't matter what size they are or anything like that. But I had like the He-Man guys fighting the G.I. Joes and and the Star Wars guys, and I just make my own little teams, because when you're a kid you can have this thing called imagination. And anyways, you can play and create whatever you want with them. So I would have these big battles in my backyard. And then when some of them would die, I would actually have funerals for the guys and bury them.
Cool.
So yeah,
I love it.
Anyways, so then I mean, there's probably like Star Wars and GI Joe guys and He-Man guys in my dad's backyard now to this day. So anyways, so you want to take a quick break here, Matt, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the rest of the like plot of the show and then some other stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
What is Gen X? What is the silent generation? What do generations have in common? Hi, I'm Trish the Dish from the Gen X Voice podcast, and I invite you to listen to conversations I have with folks from different generations, backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences in an attempt to see what connects rather than divides us. Even though Gen X has been called slackers, Karens, or not mentioned at all in some cases, we are the bridge generation, so I feel compelled to do my part to destroy ageism by bringing all these voices together. And, as a bonus, each guest gets to answer some 80s questions at the end of each show. So download and listen to Gen X Voice today on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And let's see how much we have in common after all.
Hi, this is Catherine, host of a new fashion podcast, The Real Fashion School Dropout. Join me as I interview guests every week in the fashion and beauty space, and we gossip on all things fashion and beauty and even get into some personal stories of their journey in the industry. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Hope to see you there.
By the power of Grayskull. We're back. Okay, anyway, so
Yeah.
So the basic premise of the show is to the Power Sword is now in two pieces. One part is in Preternia. And the other part is in what the heck was the basically one's in heaven, one's in hell.
It's like called like Subternia.
That's right. That's what it is. Subternia.
Yeah.
I just blanked on it. I was like, yeah. Subternia is like basically hell. Preternia is heaven. So, and the basic premise of this is we find out that magic is kind of dying on Eternia and in the universe in general. And so Teela and her friend decide to take up the journey to reunite these things with the help of Evil-Lyn, actually, of all people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Beastman. So it's good guys and bad guys working together on their journey, which is a tried and true storytelling device that we've had since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
it's much like the Fellowship of the Rings, or Fellowship of the Ring going to drop the ring in Mordor, in Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's kind of the same sort of premise. So you've got your unlikely group of people. They go off and they find Duncan, aka Man at Arms, to join them as well, but he doesn't want to join them. They end up having they're joined by Orko, who is dying because of magic dying. We've also got Roboto. Yeah. Interestingly voiced by Justin Long, who hosts one of my favorite podcasts, Life is Short with Justin Long.
I love that guy.
Yeah. The voice cast on this show is amazing. So while this is going on, we also have this like this faction of like basically because Skeletor's gone, Triclops comes up and takes the mantle of like this new kind of like almost like cult leader of these people that are all about like electronic type stuff, and you know they're the serververse or something they call it.
Yeah, that's right. Trust the server or something like that.
And Triclops is brilliantly voiced by Henry Rollins.
Oh wow! Yeah, they're like
people.
Anti-magic.
Yeah,
they're like the whole magic has actually made us worse. We need technology, you know, type of thing or whatever. And like they actually like make people drink this weird like liquid that's probably has like nanotechnology, I guess, in it. I'm guessing, and then like they literally become like part machine. Yeah,
and by the way, I speaking of the voice cast, I just wanted to go through this voice cast right now just to show people who we're listening to here, because this is a great voice cast. You got Chris Wood as Prince Adam, aka He-Man. Chris Wood, who you know is Mon-El from Supergirl. Mark Hamill was Skeletor. Liam Cunningham from Game of Thrones is Duncan, a.k.a. Man-at-Arms. Sarah Michelle Gellar is Teela. We've got Lena Headey from Game of Thrones and 300 and the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles as Evil-Lyn. Dietrich Bader from people know from Drew Carey Show and a bunch of other things as King Randor and Trapjaw. You got Alicia Silverstone as Queen Marlena. You got Stephen Root from Office Space and News Radio and a bunch of other things as Cringer. You have Griffin Newman, who played Arthur on the Tick TV show on Amazon, as Orko, and in my opinion, the best performance in the whole show, bar none. Susan Eisenberg as the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull. You've got Kevin Michael Richardson, who's like done every cartoon ever, as Beastman. You got Kevin Conroy, a.k.a. Batman, as Merman. You got Henry Rollins as Triclops. You got Jason Mewes as Stinkor. You got Alan Oppenheimer as Mossman. Alan Oppenheimer was the original voice of Skeletor and did a bunch of other voices on the original series. Justin Long as Roboto, as I said. You got Tony Todd, a.k.a. the Candyman, as Scareglow. You got Phil Lamar as Hero. Cree Summer as the Priestess. Harley Quinn Smith, a.k.a. Kevin Smith's daughter, as Elena. You've got Tiffany Smith as Audra, no relation to Kevin Smith. Dennis Haysbert as King Grayskull. You got Adam Griffith as Vicor, and Jay Tavari as Wondar, which we see for the first time in animated. Anyway,
but that's not enough. It doesn't matter because, you know, the whole show is terrible. It's, you know, who cares if hundreds of people put in so much, you know, hard work into it, and, you know, a guy on YouTube says it's no good, so I gotta listen to him, you know?
Yep. Nobody spent any time thinking about this, you know?
Mm-mm.
But the animation's good, so that's okay, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it made a fan out of me, which again is someone who doesn't really, I don't really even watch cartoons that much as an adult. I don't
Yeah.
even watch anime. It's not my thing. So I'm sitting there watching this. I'm liking it. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. If they can grab my attention, then that's pretty good writing and animation to really get me, interested into it.
I mean, is it the best storytelling ever? No. But it's great. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm just saying that, it's not like the greatest written thing ever, but it's written greatly, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that, it's, there's nothing there's nothing majorly groundbreaking here when it comes to storytelling, but it's a good, compelling story. Is my, because like I said, it's a similar tried and true sort of, the hero's journey sort of thing, So, something we've seen in Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and everything before it, So.
Yeah, and there's some really good lines in there too that are like almost like little nuggets of wisdom, like that you wouldn't really expect. Like I was like, especially like there's like this sort of unlikely friendship between Evil-Lyn and Orko, which is really interesting. And and also too, so like when they're on the ship and Orko's talking to Andra, and he tells her, she's like, oh well, this is great, get to be on an adventure or whatever. And then he said, well, you should get a journal and write this stuff down because I've been on hundreds of adventures, with these people, and you'd be surprised of what you forget, so, to really write stuff down if you want to remember it, because you might just totally forget.
And it's also a very good, that whole thing is a good commentary on the fact that, okay, Orko is depressed, and it's talking about the thing, things that we don't necessarily always think about. One of the major effects of depression is memory loss.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people are depressed, they forget things. So, whether they're good or bad things. So, it's basically like I said, I think Griffin's performance there as Orko is just brilliant. I don't know what it is, but he just makes you love that character that was very divisive back in the day. He was kind of the Jar Jar Binks of He-Man back in the day. You know what I mean? Like like people either loved or hated him. He was always one of my favorites. But and it's really interesting too. If you get a chance, listen to that Fat Man Beyond episode, people, with him in it, because he talks about the fact that how he created the voice. Because he had the original voice was actually Lou Scheimer, who was the one of the creators and producers of the original series. He went under a pseudonym to voice certain characters because it saved money. So he didn't have to pay anybody, and he was the voice of Orko. But the way he did it was similar to how they do like Alvin and the Chipmunks and stuff, where they ran it through some processing to make his voice pitched up and higher. But the thing with Griffin...
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, but Griffin does that voice without doing any processing.
Oh, jeez.
That's
That's amazing.
He's able to do that voice. So, yeah. So
that's amazing. Speaking of the Chipmunk thing, so this is kind of off topic, but someone took one of their songs, or no, like one of their albums, and they slowed it down. And it just sounds like some weird, like not even indie, just like a almost like stoner rock, like it's like or like some weird, I don't know, just some weird shit you would like hear at like a punk, concert hall in like the late 70s, like back when punk rock was just so like when anything could be punk rock, like there was no set style back then, like just anyone who was weird enough could just be like considered punk rock at that time. So like I totally just like imagine these guys playing at like CBGB's like late 70s, like at like 1 in the morning, like and to play, like type. But anyway, yeah, that just reminded me of that.
So, anyways, in the show we've got like we've got all these great actors in it and everything. So what happens is we've got we've got them going on their journey. They end up going to Subternia, where they end up having to like face their biggest fears and stuff. They link up Evil-Lyn and Orko in this like he's back on his home planet, and they're fighting off this big like kind of like smoke monster sort of thing almost.
Yeah.
Again, and they so they have to fight together, and Evil-Lyn, you know, admits like, yeah, Evil-Lyn wasn't always her name; it was just Lyn, you know. So. And that's the thing, he wants to call her Lyn, you know. He just basically wants to call her Lyn because he, you know, doesn't think she's always evil, you know.
Yeah.
And which is true. It kind of proves that she ends up caring about Orko, and they save each other's lives and stuff like that in their little thing. We have a Beastman and Adra fighting off and I think Roboto too, fighting off some like weird like creatures in this realm. And we also have Teela fighting He-Man, because that's like one of her biggest fears is fighting him. But then she doesn't give in to that thing, because basically what it is Scareglow, who was never on the show originally. This is the first time we've seen Scareglow. He was a toy made. Like there's several toys that were never on the show. Like Stinkor, this is his first appearance on here too. I still have, by the way, a Stinkor in the original packaging from back then. So, which is a really weird. Okay, so I bought the toy when I was a kid for my cousin for his birthday, and then for some reason we never gave it to him. And I found it years later wrapped in my closet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was wondering what it was. I opened it up, and it was a brand new Stinkor.
That might be worth something. I don't know.
I don't know. I looked it up. He's not really worth much, but
Oh, okay.
but I'm still gonna I'm still gonna keep him because he's cool, and I left him in the packaging. Yeah, and the toy actually smelled too, which is interesting too. And I never had it, but I remember when I was a kid, other people having it. So,
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, so we got that, and so like Scareglow was basically kind of this like joke of a toy that glue in the dark. You know, like they made a toy that would glow in the dark just to try to sell it. You know, because it was, I mean, the whole idea of Masters of the Universe was just it was to sell toys. You know, I mean, that's all it is. You know, it was originally a toy. You know, it was originally toys. There was then like the story. That's the other thing. The story of He-Man has changed so many times over the years. For people to get upset about this is just ridiculous. But we'll get into that a little bit later, after our next break. But the so basically we've got Scareglow for the first time here, and he was voiced by Tony Todd like brilliantly. I mean, I think it was like very, very cool. It basically, after they do that, they end up escaping into a door that takes them into Preternia, but through the process, Orko ends up having to sacrifice his life to do so. So they all get there into Preternia, and in Preternia you see a lot of cool things that we've never seen before. Like they have these different play sets that we had as a kid appear in there for the first time. They were never in the original series. So this is basically a love letter to the fans, and I don't understand why they're so pissed. So
No, you do, and I do know.
Yeah.
No.
but they've you see different characters, but the one that's really interesting is, okay, there's a character called Wondar. Have you ever heard the history of Wondar?
No.
Okay, so supposedly, and this has never been proven, there was a mail-in, you know, send away for a He-Man figure and then people got it, and it was like a dark-haired He-Man, and it was supposedly through Wonder Bread that you could get it. And so, which was never proven. There's actually an interesting look up Spectre Creative. It's a interesting YouTube channel by this guy that used to run the He-Man line at Mattel back in like he did the He-Man I think it was like Classics line, which was a really cool collector's line that they had in the like 2000s. He talks about the history of Wondar, and it's really in depth and everything, and more than I can give. But basically, it was proven that it was never a Malloway thing. But there was a character. It looked just like He-Man, except for he had dark hair, and he didn't have the chest plate. He had a different chest plate that was actually from another character. Like it was kind of like what they call a kit bashing, where you take different characters and put them together, like parts from different characters. And basically, that was sent away. It was a Malloway character, but supposedly everybody thought it was from Wonder Bread, but it was actually from some other Malloway thing where you sent in like things and you could get that character. But he never appeared on the show and everything, and he never had a name. It was just a character that you could send away for. It didn't come with a packaging or anything. And so fans ended up naming him Wondar because of Wonder Bread. And so, yeah, then the Classics line, they ended up making a Wondar, which was, a toy for him finally. And then now this is the first time he's ever appeared in cartoon form, which is pretty cool. So he was up there. There's all these different like past heroes of Grayskull, and they all are up there in their like hero form, but Adam chose to go up there into Eternia as Adam and not as He-Man, which kind of shows his heart, basically that he identifies more as being Adam than he does as being He-Man.
Right.
And so he's in that place is called the Hall of Heroes. The heroes end up mourning Orko's death there, and oh yeah, by the way, back when they were in Subternia, they got the one half of the power sword, so they get the other half. Yeah, they get the other half. That's why Orko ended up sacrificing himself so they could get that. They end up getting the other half, and they need to try to forge them together into one sword. And they're able to do this. Roboto ends up dying in the process. He has memories of because he was I guess built by Duncan, so he has Duncan's memories, so he can forge swords and everything. So he ends up dying in the process of forging the sword in this tower. That it's, and then there's like a way to go back to Eternia through this tower, and I kind of didn't understand that completely. Did you?
Yeah, not really.
But anyway, yeah.
Because my whole thing was, well, if you could get there from Subternia, why couldn't you just go back through the door that you came in from? But
yeah, I don't think they could. I think it was like a one-way door or something.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but so they went to Eternia, and Adam chooses to go back, but one of the things is stipulation is that he can never come back to Eternia. So he could stay there and basically be in heaven the rest of his life, and he'd be okay. But he decides to go back and fight, which, in my opinion, makes him a heroic character.
No, he's just a liberal cuck. So
Yeah. Anyways,
yep.
So he does that. They go back, and once they're back, they realize he ends up raising the sword, saying by the power of Grayskull and all that, and then he ends up getting stabbed by Skeletor, who comes out of nowhere. Yeah.
It came out of Evil-Lyn's
we find out it was out of Evil-Lyn's staff. He was hiding in there. He ends up claiming the sword, and then for the first time ever, he says by the power of Grayskull, and then he turns into what they're calling Skele God.
Skele God, yeah,
yep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually kind of like that name.
I do too.
God.
And then that's how these first 5 episodes end.
That's how it ends. Of course, all these people are crying over that.
Yeah, because not only did they kill He-Man once, they killed him twice.
And they killed him twice, but he also got killed by Skeletor, which is interesting though, because these people are the real villains of the story that they're watching. So you think that they'd be happy, like, well, you killed the hero. That's what you guys do. So you should be celebrating along with Skele God. But
Yep. Anyways, do you want to take a break here, Matt, and then we'll talk about this toxic fandom and stuff?
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Need a new podcast to listen to? Well, why not check out the Super Podcast from the Super Network at supermarcy.com, where we discuss films and pop culture, and we do monthly fan-voted commentaries. We are available on all major podcasting platforms.
And we are back. Back. So... Another thing I wanted to point out is the score for this show was done by Bear McCreary, who is known for his work on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined version, that is, the television series Outlander, The Walking Dead, PlayStation 4 video game God of War, also the feature film Godzilla, the King of Monsters. And I think his music was brilliant in this. So, yeah. So this was a good show.
Yep.
Anyways, so there's this big toxic fandom thing going on here, where you have idiots on YouTube and people all over the internet who, have small penises and need to make up. I'm sorry, just joking. No.
Well, who knows?
Yeah, I'm just joking. But they can't understand why, what they're doing is wrong, and how it leads to other things. For example, the algorithm on YouTube that was bringing me to all these different He-Man and Kevin Smith, Masters of the Universe videos, and basically all these videos of these whiny people talking about it. I started watching this one. Not going to name the person at all. I'm looking in the background of his video, and he's got like all this like most YouTubers do, like all this like pop culture stuff behind him and everything. I look in the corner and I see in the corner of one of a Batman poster, it says above it, "Biden sucks." And so I'm just thinking, and I mean, I don't care what you think of Biden one way or the other, people. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him either, but it made me start thinking. I'm like, okay, so this guy's got to be like some kind of conservative,
Mm-hmm.
So I look him up, and he's like a libertarian YouTuber who used to be a Democrat, and now he's like, big time that, and he's also like a rapper and all this other stuff. So, Don't remember his name. Don't care. Anyway, so I look into his history and I find out he's like all about, he does these pop culture videos, but he also is like a political commentator as well, and all this stuff. So that just makes me think, okay, this is how you start out. You're watching videos about Masters of the Universe. This comes up in your algorithm. Then you watch his video. Then your algorithm is programmed to start showing you videos about, political issues. Because he's a political commentator as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually you're down this rabbit hole where you're a member of QAnon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slow but dangerous slope that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then QAnon is and it always goes back to Jews. Always. Like if you go that's like kind of like the source of power where you find that's where it is. Like all of this always goes back to the Jews. Like you can make it as convoluted as you want. That's where like the dude is. I know I'm kind of going off on a thing here for a second, but there's this guy on YouTube who's he's kind of funny. I don't know if he's like a comedian or whatever, but his thing is called Channel 5 News, and he goes to like these right wing rallies, and for whatever reason, the people there just trust him. Like they don't think he's trying to make fun of them because he doesn't really come off like that, but he always kind of finds like the craziest of them and then puts it in his videos. And he's talking to this one dude, and he's a QAnoner, and like the third thing he says is like, yeah, I don't think the Hitler situation was as bad as people say it was. Like there it is right there. Like it's always the Jews at some point. Like, and so yeah, you might start off watching the video about how He-Man is trying to promote feminism, and then you're going to be like, the Jews actually faked the Holocaust to make people feel bad for them. It's like, whoa,
And you see, and that's why toxic fandom is scary. I mean, even if it wasn't going to lead down to some political thing, it also just the whole idea of toxic fandom in general. The fact that there is a political agenda, but there's also this whole just the hate that it brings, and how it ends up getting to like I've seen like literal death threats to Kevin Smith because of a stupid cartoon. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
what the hell?
It's a cartoon.
Yeah,
it's a cartoon. But to them, it is. You're right. To them, it really. See, to them, the fandom stuff is really their way to promote their political ideology. I truly believe that. I think I don't want to say names either because I don't want to give them more clout than they think they already have, which they don't. Because I bet you a lot of their reviews are actually probably bots or not even, but whatever. That's a whole other topic that's really complicated, complex. But anyway, because even if you get fake views, that still bolsters your own page, and then that creates real views. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, so which is a form of cheating. Anyway, okay, I'm done. But you're not sincere. Anyway, so I think that what it really is, and the thing is too, I've talked to you in this private, talk your ear off for many years now because I've been obsessed with the right wing for probably 15 years at this point, and I've studied there. And when I say study, I mean I've read other people's books. I'm not smart enough to write my own book, but I've read other people's books about the right wing, and they are really, really good at infiltrating alternative subsets of society. They were going against segments of society, and they've been good at this for decades at this point. I actually credit them for this because the left wing is really not great at this, but they really are. And so they always find any group that's like alternative or like a hobby or whatever, and then they use that group in order to promote their own toxic political ideologies. And it always starts with something. So like for example, fandom, like when it comes to movies or whatever, it just got to start somewhere. Like, were cartoons a lot better in the old days? something about just the old days, something better than the modern world, you know what I mean? And then from there, that's their launching off point. You know what else was better back in the day? Men were men. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do know what you mean. Men were men. They're not like these pansies like they are now. Yeah, I know. Too, I think black people should have their own separate drink. Well, then that's how it goes. I mean, I know it's an extreme jump, but a lot of people actually do end up at that place. They really do.
It's really difficult too. It's like when The Force Awakens came out, people were like freaking out because they saw the thing where Finn was taking off a stormtrooper helmet. They're like, stormtroopers can't be black.
Right.
You're fine with a pointy-eared wizard, little green wizard, training Luke. You're fine with a walking carpet being the sidekick to Han Solo. But God forbid there be a black dude,
That's the thing. You think they would be okay with that because the black guy is one of the bad guys, and that's what they think in real life. And black people are bad. So, but then again,
they were fine. They were fine with Lando Calrissian, but that was only because he was a schemer.
He was cool.
He was cool. He was cool, but they also what I'm saying with the schemer aspect is it's like you still have that distrust for black people,
right?
That they're fine with. So, in turn, they can't accept the fact that Finn is a good-hearted, possible Force-sensitive character who is black. It's like.
Well, no, they can't. That's the other thing too. So, like, anyway, go ahead because I'm going to keep talking to you off.
Yeah. So with that, and it's like the whole idea. Okay, fandom, can be toxic no matter what it is. It could be music based, it could be sports, it could be anything. There's, because you see it in sports all the time where people are just assholes to each other because I like this team and you like that team, and it's like you guys are being assholes because they wear different uniforms and that's it. It's like so this toxic fandom can be anywhere, but I mean, because I'm really into pop culture and stuff, I just find it really offensive when it comes to this. And it seems like, I mean, it's probably always been there, but you have the internet to, shine a bigger light on this stuff. And you got, people get more views when they're talking about something negatively than when they're talking about something positive. It's... Because, it's the whole, like, I a car crash sort of thing, I'm going to watch a car crash. Or like, if you go to, like, Yelp, when they're, people are more bound to go on there and complain about a restaurant than if you had good service at a restaurant, you're not going to even think about it twice.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. I mean... mind you, if you had, like, excellent service, like, where it's, if you have, like, just average service, you're not going to say anything. Or, like, normal service, you know what I mean? Like, where people are, the waitress is coming by and refilling your drink when you need it and, stuff like that, you're not going to really say anything. But, if they went above and beyond, like, hey, we got this, pie over here, you want a extra piece of this for free, or something like that, then you're going to go on Yelp and talk about how great the restaurant is.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are just doing their job, which Kevin Smith and crew were doing with this show, you're not going to say anything. But they are going to say something if they don't like what they saw. But so what I'm getting at is the fact that most people just watch TV and just watch TV. They don't create a whole YouTube channel to talk about how there's a liberal agenda behind the show that they watch. Most people, if they think that, no, I don't really like this, they're going to stop watching it. I mean, I don't watch Fox News. because I've seen it. If you started watching this He-Man thing and you're like, oh, you know, maybe you watch the whole thing. I mean, some people like to hate watch things, but you don't have to go and create a whole YouTube channel where all you do is complain about how everything is being ruined by some kind of agenda. Just because, and inclusion does not mean disclusion. You know what I mean? It's like we're not like getting rid of white men by including women or black people or gay people or trans people or Jewish people or Muslim people or whatever, you know? We're not getting rid of all these people. Mind you, I also...
No, but you are, because you're getting rid of some of them, because...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this... No, I was just saying, I've seen this in all types of fandom. Even, like, I remember a few years ago, back when Internet Movie Database used to have comment sections that so they got rid of for this very reason. They got rid of it because of toxic fandom, which is one of the few things people associated with Amazon have done right. Anyway, so but the Internet Movie Database back then, like I'm a big fan of the TV show Criminal Minds. One of the actors on the show was being violent on set and was fired for that reason. His character was the head of the unit, and when his character was let go, they made a woman the new head of the unit. So people literally on that comment board were convinced that it was some kind of feminist agenda to get rid of this actor. But he was the one who literally was physically abusive to one of the writers on the show. But somehow it was the show's agenda to get rid of him.
Well,
and replace him with Paget Brewster as the new head of the
yeah.
Well,
you just stumbled on something there too, because that's part of the sense of entitlement that they have. So they've grown up believing that the world is their oyster and only only to them, and that they can do anything they want. They can treat anyone any way they want, and there's never going to be consequences for their actions or their speech. Now they're starting to learn that that's not true anymore. So they're pining for a world that they thought was their inheritance, is if you will, and because that's what they saw. They like, well, you know, I can catcall women, I can comment on their clothes and how they look, and you know, I can slap their ass in the office. I can do whatever I want. Their bodies belong to me, and now that's increasingly becoming less true. It's still not totally not true, but it's becoming less true for them. And like I said before, they are having a reaction. Like you see this with people who are like almost are coming off of drugs. They are literally losing their minds over this, because in their view, well, a lot of this is subconscious, mind you. They don't even know they're doing it, but like people who watch them can tell. They are literally losing their minds because they don't know what to do now. They're like, my whole world is crumbling here because I thought I could do all this stuff now. I thought that I could call a woman a bitch anywhere I wanted and no one is ever going to happen to me out. Now, suddenly, if you do that, HR is going to be coming after you or any other place. And that's the other thing, too. So they talk about, one of the big things about free speech, right? But the thing is, whenever they say something and then someone says something back at them, they say, oh, my violated. But no, you said something and someone else disagreed with you. That's not violation of your free speech. They're using their free speech to disagree with you. Like, you do understand words, right? Like, I think some of them do. They're just playing games. They know that they're full of shit. But other ones, they might genuinely believe, like, wait a minute. Like I'm allowed to crush you. you're supposed to be underneath my boot, and now you're not. Like, what's going on with the world? Something is terribly wrong, and that's a lot of it. What it is. So like the dude, I'm not going to mention his name either. He literally said the quiet part out loud in one of the videos. He's like, the whole thing about, you know, nostalgia and stuff is like, you know, like, it's back then, like you want things to be like how they were back then. I'm like, exactly. Like, so Thought Slime had a great video about this from like a few months ago, and it was basically how nostalgia is inherently conservative by nature. Like that's literally what it is. It's the past was better. All my fond memories from the past. The present's ruining everything. I want to go back to the past, and that's really dangerous because the past was not always good. I mean, it may have been good for you, or at least you imagined that it was good for you. Then again, though, you were a little kid, so the world at that time in your life was different through your eyes than what it actually was because you were just growing up. And so, like, whatever you experienced as a child is not necessarily how adults at that time.
When you're a kid, you don't have to worry about bills and other issues and stuff like that. You know, it's like, of course you're going to think of things better back then, you know? It's because your mom and dad were taking care of everything for you.
Right. And if you had a good childhood, you probably, you know, had, you know, a sort of well-rounded life where it wasn't extreme in one thing or another, you know, and so you had parents that, you know, hung out with you or whatever, and you got to, you know, do stuff that you had, you know, that were fun to you or whatever. But like, it's I know it's hard to explain all this, just express everything I'm feeling about this stuff. But I just know, I can just feel it in my gut that these people they're having like a collective psychosis almost. Like,
and the thing is, the word nostalgia actually comes from the idea of returning home to and the pain of remembering that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where the root words are, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's like, so you basically, the idea is that there's a pain associated with remembering your past. So there's already a pain or a longing built into the word nostalgia.
Wow.
So, which makes sense too, because a lot of times when, you know, you're thinking of the past, you're remembering it and longing for it, and you're in a painful way because you no longer have that.
Right, you can't get to it.
Yeah, so of course you're not going to love something that's happening right now. And it's the thing too, like where when like the prequel trilogy for Star Wars came out, everybody hated it because it wasn't like the original movies. But now some people are saying that it's better than the sequel trilogy.
Right.
Who's not to say 20 years from now people are going to love the sequel trilogy? You know what I mean? It's just because it's something from the past, you know? It's
from their past, yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, because like this the problem with it too is like people will take this, and I mean people are like saying, "Oh no, there's no review bombing going on." No, basically what's happening is people were review bombing this show much like they did The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Or like they did Captain Marvel. Or anything that had a slight progressive attitude to it. Or destroyed something from your past. Like, spoiler alert for The Last Jedi, you know, Luke dies. And people were pissed off about that. But the thing, okay, here's something, Matt, you know, do you want to hear something really interesting?
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Okay, so in sci-fi and fantasy, people sometimes come back to life.
What?
Yeah. And even in regular shows too, like, hey, I used to watch General Hospital all the time. You know how many times certain characters died on that show and then came back a couple years later?
What? Here's the thing about that. So Obi-Wan Kenobi was his master, his teacher.
Yeah.
He died, quote, died in the very first movie at the end of... But we only got one... Before the prequels, we only had one movie where Obi-Wan was in the movie, and he was only in for like half of it, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we still remember that character fondly. So Luke got 3 movies, and then he had he had 4 movies technically, and then and the thing is too is like I know I'm being kind of literal here. We're not talking. I know what point you're really trying to make, but I'm just saying just from the actual what actually happened in the movie is both Obi-Wan and him actually chose to die. It wasn't like they were killed. Like they made that conscious choice, to do that.
Just like Prince Adam, aka He-Man, chose to die,
right,
to save
everybody.
But somehow, him being heroic made him effeminate.
He's a liberal cuck. Yeah, I mean, that's what because we all know that masculine, super tough guys, they abandon their friends or their troop or whatever to save themselves. We all knew that. I mean, come on, all the great war movies, you see the guy like, see you later, suckers, and he just runs away as they all get bombed and shot to death, and he goes, has a shot of whiskey at the town next over. We all saw those movies, and we're all like, that's the good guy in the movie. Oh, wait, we don't?
And then people were saying, oh, they crucified him because he never told Teela that he was He-Man. So the people were saying that they're mad because the whole thing where Teela got upset that her best friend didn't tell her that he was He-Man. So
how dare a human have a human emotion to a feeling of being left out of like some really important information?
Obviously, these people have never read, Superman, any comic book ever, watched any shows on the CW. I mean, think about, on The Flash, Barry kept it from Iris for a while. And and she had reactions to it, and people are fine with that stuff, or but actually they had other issues with that. They didn't like Iris because she was black, but
Iris black, and exactly, they have
there's a big, speaking of toxic thing, there's a big thing I never realized until recently when I looked into it, of hatred towards Candace Patton because she's black.
Oh yeah,
and I mean there are people calling her names that I'm not going to racist names on there, and luckily Grant Gustin came and defended her and stuff like that, and other people too. But and it's fine with that, but people think it's okay for them to be upset that a character that was white in the comic books is now black, and they're all
Here's another thing about that, and again, this is all right wing bullshit using fandom as their way to promote their hateful ideology, of course. But so we'll just put that aside, and then there's useful idiots that pick up on that, and they pretty much carry the water for them because they're too stupid to actually do it. Do the movement themselves. They just kind of do for these people, but I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, people were making a big deal whenever there was a movie or a show where a black guy had a white girlfriend or white wife. Everyone was making a big deal that's So then I've noticed though in the last 5 or 6 years, I've noticed there's a lot of stories now where the guy is white and the woman's black, and they still hate it. So it's before you were complaining oh sure, the woman's white but the guy's black. Okay, well I've seen a shitload of movies now, stories where the guy's white and the woman's black, and you're complaining about that. So it seems like what you really have a problem with is just black.
You just have an issue with interracial relationships in general, and just
admit it.
So back to one of the other complaints here that people had in this toxic fandom of this is they were trying to say that Kevin Smith lied about everything because he said ahead of time, because he didn't want to give away plot points of the show, you know, because why would people watch it if they knew everything that was going to happen? They asked him, you know, some people asked him online or in a YouTube channel, you know, they said they asked him what the show was about and if it was about He-Man, and he said the show was all about He-Man, which it is.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah, he might not be the main character at all points, but it's about him. It's about rescuing He-Man, basically.
He literally saved the entire universe in the first episode of a 10-episode season. I mean,
and you know,
but because he died doing it, it doesn't count.
So
okay, so are these people? What's that?
So I have something to tell you, Matt. Here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's up?
Have you heard of this book? It's
What's
called
that?
It's called the Bible.
I've heard some rumblings. Yeah.
Okay. So these people that are very conservative love this book.
Okay.
There's this main character in the second half of the book. His name is Jesus.
We're like 7/8 through the book, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So but anyways, you know what he does towards the end of the book?
What's he do? What happens?
He sacrifices himself for humanity.
He's a liberal cuck.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Why would he do that? You know.
I don't get it.
I love throwing that phrase around because that's what they say all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Like that's the other thing. These people are obsessed with the word cuck. Okay, you know what cuck means for real? Not to be all sexual here. The term cuck comes from cuckold, and the whole thing is where you. Well, nowadays I guess it could be anyone, but back in the day, it was basically someone else had sex with your wife, and then that was meant to be like a shame for you that someone else, quote, had your wife, because back then your wife was like your property, and someone basically like owned you in the process of, quote, owning your wife. So like they throw this word around all the time, and I have to wonder. Because I know the right wing is really like I mentioned before, like to their credit, the right wing is really good at infiltrating like all kinds of like groups, like when it comes to hobbies and fandom or whatever, and they use that, you know, to promote their ideology. But what the right is really bad at is concealing their like deepest, darkest secrets. Like they project like crazy. Like I mean, I've never seen a group of people who project like the right wing do. It's like it's almost astonishing sometimes. Like when they'll say something, I'm like, "Ooh, do you realize you just revealed something like really personal about yourself? Like you have no idea you just did it. Like everyone heard you, and they're like, whoa." So like I have to wonder if they keep talking about cuck and cuckolding, if that's like maybe something they might be into. I don't know.
Well, you know, Jerry Falwell Jr.
Oh yeah, that guy.
who's a big, you know, conservative friend of Donald Trump, and former president of Liberty University. Yeah, he paid a guy to have sex with his wife in front of him.
What? Oh, I'm so shocked.
Yep.
Oh no, a religious leader who has some like really kinky sexual fantasy. Oh, I never heard of that. I mean, I've only heard of it from Ted Haggard, from who was that fucker from Louisiana back in the day, from the 80s, whatever. He had the big
Jimmy Swaggart, and then there's like
Jimmy Swaggart,
Jim Baker.
Jim Baker, he was like tax fraud and shit.
He also had sex with an underage woman.
So he was doing illegal shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you know, I'm so surprised. I am so.
Or no, she wasn't underage. He just raped her. I'm sorry. Not that that
Oh,
was,
sorry. Yeah,
not that that's better.
We don't want to defame him here. Yeah, we want to be accurate here. He just raped someone. Okay, and but yeah, like you remember that movie Jesus Camp that came out a long time ago?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in that movie, which is like pretty much like a documentary, and there Ted Haggard he came to one of the events to preach or whatever, and he's talking about like how all these corrupt politicians, and of course when people like that say corrupt politicians, they always mean Democrats, and because the Republicans are as pure as white snow. And if they're not, then it turns out that those Republicans were just secretly Democrats, so therefore it's all a wash or whatever. Because that's, when you have a foolproof belief system where you can never be wrong, then you're perfect, whatever. So he's talking about like, then you have some of these people, they're having liaisons or sleeping with prostitutes. Sometimes they're even sleeping with men if they're men, and they're like, I'll pay you off if you don't tell my wife. And then he literally looks into the camera and goes, I know what you did last night. He was literally doing that. Like he's talking to himself. Like, it's just like these people, they can't help themselves. They really can't. And so like, I just have to wonder sometimes when they obsess over like a certain word or a certain concept, I just have to wonder if they're projecting a little bit, because it just seems a weird, like, you could use any other word that you could, like someone's being like a fool or someone's being a dupe or whatever, but you reference a really specific concept, a sexual concept. It just seems like a weird thing. Why would you do that? Like, when you can use like a generic concept or a generic word to say what you want to say, you don't do that, but you go like, that guy had sex with that guy's wife. And it's like, so wait, He-Man has a wife and someone's having, what? Like, okay.
Yeah, no, there's no sex in the show.
And
I mean, that also brings up the fact too that the people were trying to say that Audra and Teela were a couple, even though that's never mentioned in there whatsoever. They're friends, like, and then that Teela's haircut is a clear sign that she's a lesbian.
It is okay. No, that's a really popular haircut for the past like 5 years. Okay, the shaved on the side and then long. I mean, come on. I've seen dozens of women with this haircut.
Well, okay. Here to slightly back up what people are saying, but also not at the same time. Kevin Smith admitted where he got the idea for the haircut. He directed several episodes of Supergirl, and Shyler Lee's character on the show has a haircut like that.
Okay.
Her character might be a lesbian, but he saw her haircut and thought it looked cool, and he thought that Teela should have that haircut. That is the only reason she has that haircut.
Well, I'm pretty sure they hate Supergirl too. So,
yeah, I'm sure.
I know they hate.
Yeah, well, I know they do because there's a trans character and there's gay characters and there's black characters and everything. Yeah, and I mean they hated it right off the bat when they changed Jimmy Olsen into a black guy. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why would you? Why would you? Again, why would you just enjoy anything in life without finding a conspiracy to rail against? I mean, like, these people. Can you imagine? Like, so we're complaining about them, right? But can you imagine the people who have to live with these people, who have to be in their lives? Who
I know.
Have to hear them constantly talk about this shit. It's like,
it's just. I mean, it all just boils down to the fact that these people can't understand that life isn't pie. There are not only so many pieces. Inclusion. There's always room for it. It's like Jell-O, but it's it's just.
So that's the other thing. Can I say? I know
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
talking a lot. Sorry. So it's because politics is my main thing, so that's why I know I'm like, but like, and this is political inherently. It is political. I know it seems like it's not, but it really is, because a lot of the stuff, like, human rights are become an issue, because like it's all about like different minority communities that they're railing against, and that's who they're really railing against when they talk about these characters. They're not just talking about the characters, they're talking about who those characters represent in the real world. So this stuff is important. Like, especially like the trans character in Supergirl, because she got a lot of hate. I mean, a lot of hate when she started. And people were just saying filthy words about her. I'm not even going to fucking mention. And yes, the black characters, women, you know, female, sorry, there I go again. See, it's like it's almost inherent transphobia that trans people are the gender that they say they are. So
Yeah.
cisgender women and trans women in the show, but the trans characters really got a lot of hate because they're like the new group to really just like stomp on. I mean, like the other groups, don't get me wrong, the other groups still get stomped on. So these reactionary conservatives, they still got people, they still got the old standbys, you know. You want to stomp on a gay guy's head, go ahead, you know. But now the trans people are like the real treat now, you know. Like, yes, I get to feel empowered by overpowering someone else who's a persecuted minority. Oh God, I'm so masculine. I want to be cucked. Wait, no, you liberal, you're the real cuck. I'm just projecting my. Oh no, I revealed myself. Anyway, so sorry, I'm really animated today.
Well, we're talking about an animated show, so it's okay.
We are talking about. I probably could do like a voice for a character. I think.
Yes.
When I get into my good moods, where I'm just like really going at it. But anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, so one of the arguments I've heard from the people who are kind of smarter, like every fascist movement has like the street thugs, but they also have the intellectuals, right? So we've been talking about the street thugs a lot, but there are quote intellectuals who, you know, they try to soften the blow a little bit. They try to finesse, you know. So they got a silky tongue, and they'll try to come up with these little sort of pseudo intellectual arguments, right? So they'll be like, well, it's not that I have a problem with a woman character or a black character or a gay character. I just don't think it should be forced. I think it should be natural. Like, don't just put in a gay character to put in a gay character or a black character. Like, it has to fit with the story. You know what I mean? It's got to be natural.
And the thing is honestly, I agree with them on that point. But most of the time, this isn't forced. They think anything is forced. If it were forced, yes, I disagree with it. There were issues I had, actually, even with Supergirl, where the first season, Alex wasn't gay. They hadn't come out yet. I shouldn't say she wasn't gay, but right. I kind of had issues with the way that they made the character come out in the second season out of nowhere. I think they should have built it up a little slower. Yeah.
So that's fine, but the thing is, like you said,
I had no problem with her character being gay. So I'm just gonna mention that, you know. Yeah. And I think that they've since made the character make more sense. But at the time, I did feel it was a little forced, and that doesn't mean I don't think it was right to make her gay, you know. So.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're like you pointed out, though, they think everything. It's always forced 100%. So it's like, so when in your timeline here, when it's appropriate, because you're the master of the universe here, pun intended. So like, glorious God, when is it okay to add a gay character or a trans character or a black? Or can you tell us? Can we get your permission? We seek your approval, because you know you're all-knowing deity of the universe. You know everything from the past, present, and future. Tell us, when's it okay? Oh, it's never okay? Oh, that's what I thought. So the other point, too, I want to make...
Go ahead.
So the other point I want to make, which is related to that point, is so they'll go, oh, well, they're just trying to, you know, they're trying to force these characters in. They want to fill the world with women actors, women characters. And by that, you know, like they have a feminist agenda, or they have a gay agenda, or a black agenda. Okay, so my point for that is, all right. So for argument's sake, let's say that is true. Wasn't almost all of Hollywood then, by that logic, a white agenda? So is that okay? So, but your argument is, well, we need things to be natural. We don't want to force. So that's the other thing. We don't want to force progress. That's a red herring right there. So when they say we don't want to force progress, what they really mean is I want things to stay for as long as possible, so that I never actually ever really have to see any change in my lifetime. I get to just live my life in blissful ignorance, and then my descendants, who I've indoctrinated to think just like me, they're the ones that are going to have to see the progress. So they go, oh well, I don't want progress to be forced. I want it to come natural. But the thing is, though, the way things already are was done through force. It wasn't done through nature. So what you're saying is what we have now, which was done through force, not through natural means, that gets to stay the way it is. But we're not allowed to counteract that with a feminist or a black or gay agenda. But that has to be just pure, pristine nature. It's got to run its course for however long it has to last, 500 years, how many years? 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 5,000 years before it reaches its natural equilibrium. No force, just gotta flow like the river, nature.
Yes.
Our shit right here was done by force, not nature. We get to keep that. That's interesting. That's a really interesting concept. It's almost like you want the stack of the cards in your favor, almost.
I mean, it's like the thing where, okay, they do not like it when a character like Jimmy Olsen, for example, I'm just going to use him as an example, changes races in a show because, whatever, because that's the way they want to do it, or Iris West or something. But, or even Audra in this show, I guess she was mentioned in one of the comic books and she was white before. And now she's black. So they have a problem with that. They don't like that, but then they also defend and think it's perfectly fine for a white actor to voice a black character in a cartoon like Family Guy or something, and get upset at the actor himself because he decided to step away and let another actor voice the character. Yep.
It's again, it comes back to the idea of ownership. They grew up in a world, or at least maybe they had parents who had this attitude, whether consciously or subconsciously, where other people were less than them, and that they have the right to just do with these people what they will, and that there's never going to be any consequences to it, and that the only time that there is, it's because of the liberal cucks are the party poopers who want to stop them, from crushing people underneath their boots. Yeah, I know my language is really harsh right now, but the thing is,
yeah, that's true.
Everything I'm saying is absolutely true, and I don't usually use the word absolute. In this case, I know 100% of what I'm talking about, and I will stand by every word I've said tonight. Every word.
Yeah.
These people are horrible people. I'll stand by that too. They are not good people. They do not argue in good faith. They don't have good beliefs. These people, I would not want in my life at all. Even if they were family, I wouldn't even talk to these people. They're sick, disgusting piece of filth. I should stop right now.
Anyways, yeah, we don't want to. I mean, we don't want to the thing is we're not threatening their lives though, like some of them are to Kevin Smith and other people of that nature, or Ryan Johnson, or other people who have done things to their childhood and ruined it. Anyway, so I mean, mind you, I'm not a fan at all of some things that were rebooted or remakes or whatever of my childhood or whatever you want to call it. But you know what? I just watch the thing, enjoy it for what it is, or dislike it for what it is, and I don't go threatening the lives of the people that made it, or going on and on and on about how there's some kind of agenda behind it to destroy my childhood, because there's not. And I think we should probably end things here, Matt, before we go way too long. And
that's fine.
We'll maybe revisit this. I'm sure when the the second half of Masters of the Universe Revelation comes out, maybe we can revisit this topic, or when inevitably the next big blow up from these people comes out, that they think that there's some kind of weird agenda in the world to destroy their childhoods. If you could, send comment wherever you can comment, on our Facebook group at All Too Real 2 Podcast. Send me a message at mike@cullenpark.com if you want. Let us know what you think. If you disagree with us, let us know. I mean, we might talk about it in a future episode. Maybe you'll have some points that make me think of things in a different way. Who knows? Maybe we're being too harsh on the other way. I'm open to suggestions, unlike some people. So just let us know, and just like the things you like. Don't be so hateful about everything, people. It's it's easier to love than it is to hate, in my opinion. It takes less muscles in your face to smile than it does to frown. And I think that's true about intellectually thinking about things as well. Don't like something, don't watch it. It's that simple. Don't like our show, don't listen to it. But if you do like our show, please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review, because I'd appreciate that. Check out our Patreon. Check out our TeePublic. We're on TikTok now. You can check that out. Don't know what we're going to do on there, but if you have any suggestions, I really, really would appreciate it, because I honestly admit I don't get TikTok. But
I don't either.
But I'm not going to, make a video explaining why I think it's some kind of liberal agenda or something. Anyway, so also, if you get a chance, check out friend of the show, Ryan, over at New Realms Media on YouTube. He's going to have a video coming up soon about this very topic. So until next time, folks, be kind, rewind, wear sunscreen, get vaxxed, wear a condom. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 Podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.